Everyone seems to be shifting towards a node-based workflow inside of 3D, and Blender's geometry nodes are no different. So let's see how they stack up against Houdini and how the two workflows compare to each other. So I had a video pop up recently that was from Ducky3D. He's a Blender artist, and he was talking about who geometry nodes are for. And I thought that was an interesting topic because there's a lot of similarities between Blender and Houdini. And so I figured we would take a look at the kind of differences in workflow between Blender and Houdini and see how the two workflows stack up for what he lists out in his video as being common workflows. So we can see which one's a little bit more complex, or just kind of break down the stereotypes of Houdini versus Blender. And before I jump in, I just want to say that I'm not going to say one is definitively better than the other. You can make the decision for yourself, but ultimately use the best tool for the job. And there's going to be things probably that Houdini is better at than Blender, and that Blender is better at than Houdini. So use the workflows that are familiar to yourself, or if you want to jump to a different software, then obviously learn that and make the best decision for your workflow. The first thing that he talks about, though, is a kind of a copy or an instance to points. So he starts off with a line, and then he copies some spheres to those points. So in Houdini, this is very simple to do. We start off with a line. We can control the length as well as the number of points. We have our sphere that we can set our size on, and then we wire those into a copy to points. So pretty much the exact same thing inside of Blender, I believe. It is not really probably any faster to do it inside of Houdini versus Blender, or vice versa. The next thing that they talk about is the Booleans. So take a grid and scatter some randomly scaled cubes onto it, and then you Boolean them together. So inside of Houdini, this is super simple to do. We take a grid, same thing as Blender. We're just scattering some points onto there. Inside of Houdini, we do a copy to points operation, like we saw with this instancing on points. But we have the ability to put some data onto those points. Houdini works off of data. And once I come to this attribute randomize, you can see that we have an attribute name called scale. And then we're randomizing that in the 3 different axes here. And if we select our node, we can come to our points, and we can see in this area right here, we have the geometry spreadsheet, which is going to be basically where all of the data lies. I don't think this exists in Blender. I would recommend for Blender that they do add this. I think that this would be beneficial for them to have some sort of spreadsheet so that you can see how data flows throughout your network and just see kind of how things are working. This is very helpful inside of Houdini. So what we have here is a vector attribute. So it's a 3-float scale attribute that contains all of the information that we need to randomly scale our objects. So we're doing the same thing that we did with our line, with our spheres on the lines. We're copying those to points with this box instead. And with the scale attribute, you can see that we have these randomization of our scale. If I go ahead and bypass that, you can see that deactivates that, and then our boxes go back to being the same size for everyone. So then we just Boolean them together, and this is the exact same thing that you do inside of Blender. So about the same probably for Houdini versus Blender. The next thing that they talk about is a grid with some noise being applied to it, and it's going to be animated as well. So in Houdini, it's basically the same thing. We take a grid and then we add a mountain node. I think this is actually probably a little bit quicker inside of Houdini. You don't have to add any sort of math nodes or anything like that. You can do it that way, but you don't have to. There's this mountain node that does the exact same thing for us. So we have the ability to change our amplitude here. We have our element size, so we can change how big or small the noise is. We can offset it however much we want. We also have this pulse duration, which controls the animation. So if I press play, you can see that that's going to play our animation. This is like the W attribute inside of Blender. So if I lower this down, it's going to go faster. Increase that, it's going to go slower. The next thing that's talked about is a random extrusion. So we have this sphere that is going to be randomly extruded out. So in Houdini, this is the same thing, and I think they call this a icosphere in Blender. In Houdini, it's just called a polygon. So by default, we have primitives and polygon meshes, but we can switch this over to polygon, and we can, again, put an attribute randomize down. In this case, we're going to be setting the z-scale attribute. You can name this whatever you want, but in this case, we'll just use z-scale as a float attribute, and it's going to randomize between 1 and 3 is what I have set here. And this is on the primitives. So in Houdini, we have data on some different things. We have points, we have vertexes, we have primitives, and then we have a detail attribute, which is basically just the geometry as a whole. So in this case, I'm putting it on the primitives. You can see down here, and you can specify this in the attribute class. That allows us to wire that into the poly extrude. And if we come and set this to divide into individual elements instead of connected components, and check this as distance scale attribute. By default, it is set to that Z scale. That's why we named it Z scale in the attribute randomize. That's going to randomly extrude these based off of our distance here. So we can still play around with this. This works as kind of like a multiplier for our Z scale attribute. If I uncheck that, you can see we get just the exact same extrusion for every single one. So we can leave that on. And I think this is a little bit quicker inside of Houdini. I can't remember for sure. The next thing that was talked about was an inset. So we take that same sphere and then we just basically extrude the polygons inwards and we remove the inside face. So in Houdini, this is very, very simple. It's just 2 nodes. We take a polygon, same thing that we had before, our polygon sphere, and then we wire that into a poly extrude. So in this case, we're still using that individual elements. Without that, we're not going to get what we want. So we want to have that individual elements. And then we have our inset here. So we have our inset amount. And then to delete that inside face, you could do a couple of different ways, but the easiest way is to just uncheck this little box right here that says output front, and that gets rid of that inside face. We can also group them out so we have access to add them to different selection sets later and do different things with them later if we wanted to. But we can just output that or not output that front, and that'll get rid of that inside face. So very, very easy to do inside of Houdini versus Blender. It takes a little bit more work. The next thing that they talk about is using a grid with some noise on it, but also scaling the grid. So there's a couple of different ways that we can do this, or scaling, sorry, the noise, not the grid. There's a couple of different ways that we can do this inside of Houdini. In this case, I'm using a point VOP where we're just wiring in our position into a displace along normal node, which is going to displace the geometry that we input along the normals of that geometry. And it's going to be displaced by the amount that we set on this unified noise. So we have a bunch of different noises that we can wire into here, but we also can just do this with the mountain node as well. I just wanted to show that there is another way of doing things inside of Houdini. Obviously, I'm sure Blender has the same kind of capabilities, but there's lots of different ways of doing things inside of Houdini. Some of them work better than others. But in here, we could just come to, instead of our element size being a uniform thing, we can come in here, check this little box right here, and then we can scale this in the X and the Z axis if we want. So we have the ability to do that. Same with the offset. We have the ability to offset that, in whatever direction that we want. Super, super simple inside of Houdini. Blender takes a little bit of math to do. So the next thing that is talked about is deleting faces from our geometry. So they start with a grid and then it just deletes one of the faces out. So in Houdini, this is super simple. We have a grid and then we can use, to make it procedural, we can use a group node, and then we can create a base group here with whatever, one that we want. So in this case, let's just do this. So I'm going to drop down a group node, wire that in, take a look. By default, it's going to try to select everything. We can click this and then we can select whatever we want. That is not an option inside of Blender, I don't believe, but that doesn't make it procedural. So we can come in here and we can click Edit Parameter Interface on this little cogwheel. And we can add in just an integer attribute here, and we can call this face. And this allows us to create a parameter on our actual node itself. So we can in Houdini create our own like interfaces and things, which I don't know that is necessarily a thing inside of Blender. I'm not super familiar with it. You'll have to let me know. But we can take this integer attribute now and we can right click on it, copy it, and paste relative references. So right click inside of our base group here, paste relative references. And now we have that selected. We can select whichever one we want. We also have some other nodes. So we could use like a group range, And we can select, only a few points or primitives if we want. So we could do our group selection that way. And then we can just wire that into a blast node. In this case, we have our group here. This is called group 1. And we're wiring that into a blast node with this set as the group for the group to delete. And that's going to delete out that primitive. So super simple and easy to stay procedural inside of Houdini, but a lot of flexibility there as well. Last thing that is talked about is creating a wireframe inside of Blender. And in Houdini, I think this is a lot simpler to do as well. So we start off with that same sphere that we have, and there's actually a node called the wireframe node or the wire node. So if we type in wireframe, we get this node and it creates a wireframe for us. Now, if we wanted to have like UVs and stuff on this, there's also a node called the polywire. And I can wire this in and we get essentially the same thing. I can just scale this down and we get essentially the same thing. And I can play around with our divisions to get a smoother mesh, and we get this wireframe as well. We can also just delete everything out and render this as, cylinders inside of our render engine if we choose. I'm sure Blender has the same sort of capability, but this is a way of doing this if you need your actual geometry. So just 2 nodes, really, really quick and easy to do. So that kind of wraps up our comparison. I wanted to just go over this. I thought it was an interesting kind of topic to talk about. And I think Houdini is typically seen as a software that's very difficult to learn and that there's a lot of, complexities about it. But as you see with these setups, they're not really all that complex. I mean, the complexity comes with just knowing the names of the nodes, which is no different than something like geometry nodes, where you need to know the name of the nodes for those to work as well. So some of these were actually a little bit quicker to do inside of Houdini versus Blender, and some of them were about the same. So just a little bit different workflows and just an interesting topic to kind of look at. Maybe I'll take a look at some more in-depth workflows, Houdini versus Blender in the future. But I wanted to show that it's not as complex in Houdini as a lot of people really make it out to be. And a lot of your knowledge, if you want to come over from Blender, will probably transfer over to Houdini as well. So the same sort of kind of thought processes go as far as the procedural workflows go inside of geometry nodes versus inside of Houdini and vice versa. So you should be able to jump between them, pretty easily if you really need to. But anyways, hopefully this has interested you and helped you out if you were thinking about switching from one to the other. Anyways, thank you guys for watching and have a good day.